Welcome back, everyone. I have a very special episode for you all today. 550 hours of poker ago, I was grinding 55-cent tournaments on PokerStars. Today, I built the roll from $100 up to 28,000 Canadian, which is around 20,000 USD. And today, I did my hair good, I wore 2 colognes, and I'm going to shot take 510 at the Commerce Casino. First ever time playing 510. The max buy is $1,500, so that is what I'm going to sit with. I am bringing 3 bullets. I'm prepared to lose $4,500 USD today, aka 6 stacks, medium society. A little bit nervous, but let's get it. Welcome to the hands, everyone. Before we start, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will start to upload 3 times a week rather than 2. Ball's in your court, but let's get straight into it. The very first hand of 510, I pick up pocket 10s under the gun. I raise things up to $30 and face a $130 3-bet from the low jack. This man looks quite wealthy, so I don't know if he's a pro or anything, but this is a pretty large 3-bet in position. It's over 4x, so folding isn't even out of the question here. It's early position raise, so I don't know, but folding's boring. Calling seems good too, so I toss in the call. Let's play some post-flop. We go to a flop of 10-7 deuce rainbow. Didn't even register in the first moment when, that I flopped top set, but check it over as I would with all my hands, and my opponent fires out a bet of 165. Definitely not raising on this board. We're just going to trap and make the call. Off to the turn, which is a beautiful 9 of clubs. Doesn't change too much. It's a card that's going to be better for me than him, so I'm hoping he's still going to keep betting. I check it over, and sure enough, he does fire it again for 330, a little bit over half pot. Just going to set the trap again and hope for a blank river. I make the call, we're off the river, which is the beautiful 4 of diamonds. Pretty much nothing gets there. I'm going to check it over once again, no sense in leading here. My opponent fires out a bet of 630. I'm looking over at 630, I'm like looking at how much my stack is. I realize I've only got 240 behind, there's no need to fake tank here, so I ship it all in, he snap calls, we show, and we are picking up the biggest pot I have ever played. This is like 4,000 Canadian. My previous biggest pot was about 2,700, so what a great start. Just a few hands later, we pick up pocket 9s. Slight downgrade, but I'm okay with it. I raise it up to $50 over a limp. The same player as before calls on the button, and the limper also makes a call. So we're 3 ways to a flop of 8, 7, 6, 2 spades. Don't have a spade, but it's all right. Checks to me. This is definitely not a board I'm going to be wanting to bet very often. Pocket 9s is a really nice hand to put into our check range with an open ender and an overpair. So I check it over. Button fires out a bet of 95. Under the gun calls, and for this sizing, I'm definitely not raising. So I call, and we go to a turn, which is the deuce of clubs. Pretty much a blank. Under the gun checks it. I check it again, and now button fires out really small for 145. Under the gun folds, and now it's back on me. I look over, he's got about 900 remaining. And I just don't think he's got 2 pair for this size, or a straight. I mean, I'm blocking 9-10. Even if he does have 2 pair, we've got like 15 out, so I'm not that worried. But I just think he's on a flush draw here, and I want to deny all of his equity. I don't know if he's going to barrel off on a river that's going to be a blank. And folding out a hand that has, 9 outs plus maybe 6 more for the overcards is pretty good when the stack to pot ratio is around here. So I go with my read, I shove it all in. Looks a bit disgusted, and he ends up folding, picking up another big pot here. On to the next hand. We are still battling the same opponent. I raise it up to $30. He makes the call in the low jack, and so does the small blind. So we are 3 ways to a flop of ace 5 deuce rainbow. Running hot today. Small blind checks. I fired a bet of 30, and now low jack, the player from the last 2 hands, raises it up to 70. Folds back to me, and I think about 3-betting the flop. This is a really, really, really small raise. Like, this is tiny. This should be like 140-ish. Like, in between 120 and... No, this should be like 135. So I briefly think about 3-betting the flop or calling and then leading turn, but because when I see this, I usually see them raise the flop and then check back turn and then fold to a river bet. But I think this guy's going to keep barreling off, so I just toss in the call, let him do his crazy stuff. Turn is the 9 of clubs, doesn't change much. I check it over. Sure enough, he keeps firing, but it's only 130. It's like half pot. I once again think about check raising for value here, but I just don't want to blow him off if he's got like 10-7 off or something. So I make the call. We're off to a river, which is another 5. Looks okay. We do lose to some 5x combos now, but he's got us. He's got us. I check it over, and he pretty quickly checks it back. So we probably got the best hand here. I show, and sure enough, we are winning yet another pot. Yet another hand against the exact same opponent. He just cannot get rid of us. He has opened under the gun to 40. Cutoff is called. This is the first time I've seen him vary his raise size. He usually does 35 every single time. So I think his hand is a little bit stronger, but ace-jack suited, definitely squeeze spot here. So I've bumped things up to 200. He makes the call and cutoff folds. Off to one of the most beautiful flops for ace-jack suited. King 10, 9, 2 clubs. We have a royal flush draw here. Definitely going to start with a bet here. I fire out 150 and he snap shoves all in. And I snap call. In the moment, I just saw him move out his like whites. And $100 chips are worth a lot more than the 25. So I thought he was like sticking out maybe 900 to 1,000 to like 1,100. But this is a almost 5x pot shove. Didn't really realize at the time, but even if I thought about this, I'm never folding to this opponent. He could have king queen here. He could have 8-7 of clubs, which would be a dream. Unfortunately for us this time, he has the pocket tens. It is his turn to flop a set. Can we get some help? The turn, the queen of spades. Let's see if we can get a hold for a $3,845 pot. The river is the 7 of diamonds, and we drag in the biggest pot I've ever played in my life. This is over 5,000 Canadian. That one feels great. You're not going to believe this, but for the 5th hand in a row, we're playing against the same opponent. He has limped, which I've never seen him do. Small blind has also completed, and I've got Jack 10 suited in the big blind. Too strong to just check back, so I raise things up to 60, and sure enough, he limp re-raises to 210. I'm not buying this at all. I toss in the call. We're out of position. It's a little iffy, and the stack's getting shallow, but I'm not buying this at all. So flop comes down 10, 6, 5, 2 spades. If he's gone over pair, he's going to get our stack. I check things over, and he bets 160. I think this is a bit too weak to consider check raising, so I just flat. Turn is the 4 of hearts. Looks okay. I check it over, and he checks it back. We go to a river, which is the ace of diamonds. Not my favorite card, but if I check it over and he bets, I am planning to move all in as a bluff. I think he's just got some like silly hand that might have an ace in it. And if he has like king queen and we bluff, we're still going to get it through anyway. So I check things over. He starts assembling a bet. I'm getting ready to shove all in. Unfortunately, he checks it back. I show, and my opponent has the ace-7 of clubs. So pretty big pot going his way, but I suppose he's due to win one. The 6th hand, we are actually not playing against the same guy. I raise 9-7 of clubs on the low jack to $30. Folds round to the button, who squeezes for 115. This is his 4th time 3-betting me this session. 2 of the times I folded, 1 of the times I called pocket 7s and folded flop. But he's been 3-betting me a lot, and this is on the smaller side. He usually picks a larger sizing, so small blind now overcalls. I think we've got a pretty good spot to put in a 4-bet here. Like, his sizing's a little small. He's got about 1,600 in his stack, so I can raise to about 400 here and fold to a shove. And he is 3-betting me a lot, like a lot. So this looks like a pretty good spot. I fire out a 4-bet of $410, cutoff folds. Button doesn't think for too long, maybe a minute, and then shoves all in. Small blind folds. I show the 9-7 suited, like, nice hand. My opponent says he had the pocket aces. I don't know if I believe him though, because I saw him make a really good live read on one of the other hands. He did some speech play and stuff, so maybe I gave off a tell that he just picked up on, but who knows. Just a few hands later, the player to my right has raised to 60 under the gun, and I have ace-king suited next to act. I think offsuit I might be considering a flat here. This player is quite conservative. He's quite solid though, but his raise size definitely changes based on his hand strength, so 60 is a pretty big hand, but ace-king suited in position is pretty much a no-brainer 3-bet, so I make it 200. Folds back round to him, he thinks for a bit, and then folds pocket jacks, face up, which I think is insane considering I just showed a 9-7 suited 4-bet, and I can't even get action with ace-king suited. But picking up like $80 rake-free, so can't really complain. Okay, this hand is a little bit weird. The player that we played in the first 5 hands has done a blind raise to 25. You're actually not allowed to straddle in this casino. Hijack has now raised things up to 65, and I'm in the small blind with pocket kings. Pretty good situation, so I raise things up to 260. This is about 4x the hijack's raise. Big blind folds, the straddler, or blind raiser, overcalls, and hijack also makes a call. So now we're 3 ways to a flop of queen 9-3 2 hearts. Before I can do anything, under the gun has now shoved all in. It was out of turn, but the dealer button looks like it could be on me rather than to my right. Like, I completely understand that. In his shoes across the table, I don't think he's angling here. I think he genuinely thought that he was first to act. And now I don't know what to do. So I asked the dealer, what happens now? And he just ignores me. I'm like, hey, what can I do? He's like, play your hand. I'm like, okay, but if I check, what happens? Like, then you check. I'm like, okay, what happens if I bet? He's like, then it's a bet. Like, oh my God. I am telegraphing so much information at this point, and I'm getting a bit frustrated. So I just bluntly asked the dealer, if I check, does his all-in stand? And the dealer says no. I'm like, fuck. Everyone knows what my hand is now. And like, I'm confused. So I just think for about 2 minutes. I don't know what to do. I was originally going to check this hand anyways. This is definitely a hand that I want to check raise at this SPR just to get it all in. And I don't want to be betting myself, but I don't know what to do now. And I'm just going to go with what I was originally going to do. So I check it over, and now the person who went all in on a turn checks it back, which I think is quite fair, given that my hand looks really strong based on what I've asked the dealer. By the way, I was told after the hand that his all-in does stand if I complain about it, and only if I complain about it. If I say I would like the bet to stand, it does stand, but if I say nothing and we all agree to check, then the checks stand. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know about this. This is an $800 pot, and the dealer just couldn't give a fuck. But whatever. So it checks the hijack, who also checks it back. So now we're off to the turn, which is the ace of spades. Brutal. Brutal. I check it over. Under the gun checks it again, and now hijack fires out for 400. I'm a little frustrated, and I chuck my cards in the muck. And now under the gun makes the call. I'll run you guys through the rest of the hand. The river is the 8 of spades. Now the under the gun player leads out all in for 490. Hijack makes the call, and the under the gun player shows Jack 10 for the river straight. So I can't be too mad because that did save me like $1,000. Yeah, a little bit of a weird one. I don't think anyone was angling. Those two players got a little bit of an altercation, but I understand where they're both coming from. Yeah, but I guess we escaped that one. Whew. We are playing a little bit short-handed here. I think we're about 4 or 5-handed. Cutoff is raised to 35. I could 3-bet the pocket 8s in the button, or I could flat. This time I choose to flat, and we go heads up to a flop. My stack's getting a little short. Can we flop a set? 9-8-5 of 2 clubs. Beautiful flop. Cutoff now bets 50. For this sizing, you want to be pretty selective with your raises. Pocket 8's definitely going to get in there. So I raise things up to 150, and my opponent makes the call. Off to a turn, which is the beautiful 3 of diamonds. Doesn't change anything. He checks it over to me, and I debate between going for a geometric size around 115% pot to get it all in by the river,
or something around like 2/3. I think I bet way too big here. I should have gone something like 250, but I ended up going 300. I thought the pot was a little bit bigger than it actually was, but this is a little bit too big. I want him to still be able to float with some flush draws and overs, and maybe a flush draw gut shot type hand, but I bet 300. My opponent looks like he wants to call, but unfortunately makes the fold. But pretty nice pot coming our way. Okay, we're playing 5-handed at this point. My nemesis has bought the button for 15, so I've got 5-6 offsuit, only one player to get through. I raise things up to 40, and he makes the call. Off to a flop of queen 4, deuce, rainbow. We've got ourselves a gut shot. So when he checks to me, I fire a bet of 30, and he check raises me to 130. In position, deep, definitely going to float here with our gut shot. We can easily take it away from him when he's got literally nothing. So I toss in the call, go to a turn, which is the 10 of clubs. He keeps firing for 180, around half pot. He seems to like this size on the turn. I'm just going to keep floating and take it away from him on the river. River, however, is the 6 of spades. Looks pretty good, and even better so when he checks it over to me. I don't think there's any sense in betting here. We're probably going to be good most of the time here. I just don't see him ever having a queen here. He would probably bet river with 1, so I'm just going to check it back, take it to showdown. And unfortunately, my opponent shows the 10-7 offsuit. Really bad turn, really bad river for us, but my stack is dwindling. We've moved to a new table after ours broke, and now the cutoff is raised to 30. I've been quite card dead here, but we pick up pocket aces. I raise things up to 100, and only the cutoff makes the call. So we're heads up to a flop of 7, 6, 4, 2 hearts. Pretty bad flop for my range, so when he checks to me, I definitely want to have some strong hands in my check back range, and pocket aces with a heart is like a slam dunk check here. So I check it back to have some very strong hands, and we go to a turn, which is the deuce of diamonds. Doesn't change too much. My opponent now fires out for 75, and nothing to do here but call. River is not great. It's a 5 of hearts. My opponent fires out a bet of 175, about half pot. I know my name's Bluffalo, but I don't need to raise every time I've got a good blocker, so yeah, nothing to do here but call for this sizing. I don't think he's going to have a straight too often, and he could still be having like a hand like 10s or jacks. I want to go for some value, so I toss in the call. Fortunately, my opponent shows the pocket 7s. Picking up queen 10 of diamonds under the gun here, I raise things up to $30 and get both of the blinds to call. So 3 ways in position to a flop of 9, 4, deuce, 1 diamond, 2 clubs. Checks to me, I've got 2 overs, a backdoor straight, backdoor flush draw. Looks pretty good to me, so I fired a bet of 30, and only the small blind makes the call. Off to a turn, which is the jack of hearts. Beautiful card to keep barreling on. Opponent checks it, I try to see how much he's got behind. A little bit over 4 SPR, so we want to bet slightly over pot here to get it all in by the river. I fired a bet of 165, and my opponent makes the fold. Not a big pot, but hopefully it's the momentum shift we need to start picking up some pots. In this final hand, our nemesis has actually table changed and sat to our direct left, where he has blind raised to 25. Love it. The next player to act has raised to $75. Folds to me in the big blind with pocket kings again. I 3-bet things. He's not too deep, so we want to go about 25% of his stack rather than just go to 300. So I make it a little bit smaller than 4x to 275. Straddler folds, and my opponent makes the call. Off to a flop, which is pretty nice. It's 10, 5, 3, 2 hearts. 2 SPR, I think I'm going to go for the check raise all in here, as I would with like ace king as a bluff. So I check things over, and he fires out a really sizable bet of 400, leaving himself only 475 behind. Nothing to do here but shove it all in. This kind of looks like queens or jacks. So I announce all in. My opponent says, oh, I played this hand so bad, and calls. He also says that if I double him up, he will subscribe, so maybe he'll get lucky. We go to a turn, which is the jack of spades. Really not what I want to see. However, river is the king of hearts, and makes me feel pretty good about my hand. I show, and my opponent shows. Hit aces. Oh. We lose out on a subscriber, but we do win a $2,300 pot. I guess it's okay. Really nice to crack aces on our final hand. Was not expected to see that hand at all, but that is it for my first 5-10 session.
What a session. What an entry to 5-10. My first ever time playing stakes this big. My heart was pounding on that first hand. I had to hold my neck like this because it was just going out of control. Did not change my play though. Snapped that call for the second hand. with just a draw for 2,000 US dollars. That is the two biggest pots I have ever played in my life by far, and cashed out huge. We actually built the stack up to $6,000, no, $5,900 at one point, but dropped a bit below, got back up, cashed out, in for $1,500, out for $5,018. My biggest win ever. I will put the bankroll numbers down there, but look at this. They even gave me this cute little clip. I've never had one of those before. I feel so rich. This is why I'm such a huge proponent of shot taking under rolled. I am at 550 hours of play since I started at $100, and the roll is over 32,000 Canadian. We're a third of the way there, you guys. In 550 hours, I might even complete this 100K challenge on this road trip. I am so excited. I have 2 more days here. I'm going to play at Hustler Casino. Please hit that like button. If this video gets 1,000 likes, I will move my schedule up from twice weekly to 3 times a week videos, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the support, all the likes, comments, subscriptions, views, everything. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.